So, as I'm sure most of you know, Worbla is like the new cool thing to be working with in the cosplay community, especially if you make your own costumes. But it's hard to find a really basic tutorial so you know what you're looking for. So in the next sort of 2 episodes, what I'm going to try and cover is the very basics and very basic methods that you can use for working with Worbla, and the best ways to start preparing your Worbla for painting. Okay, so the way I'm going to show you how to do these different techniques is we're going to make up some little shapes out of foam. There are different ways you can use Worbla. The way that I always recommend, if you're doing especially a larger piece, is to use a foam base. You can use various different thicknesses of foam. Obviously, the thinner it gets, the lighter it gets, the more detail you're going to use for it. So you're not going to make a full breastplate out of a piece of very thin foam. You're probably going to use something more like this guy. So you're going to need foam. You're going to need a pen or pencil of some description to draw out your shapes onto the foam for cutting them out. You're going to need something to cut them out with. You can use scissors or an X-Acto knife. You're obviously going to need Worbla. So the Worbla that I've got shown here for this tutorial is some of my Worbla scraps. Worbla would usually sort of, if you're ordering up, it will arrive to you in a roll, a bit like wrapping paper. But I usually save my big rolls for if I'm doing a piece of armour or something where I need something without any joins. So for today, because we're doing little bits and pieces, I'm just going to use some scraps. You will also need a heat proof, because you're going to be using heat to mould all your shapes. You're going to need a heat proof surface. So what I use is I have a cutting board and I cover it in lots of layers of tin foil or aluminium foil. For those who don't live in the UK and are going, what on earth is that tin foil stuff? And a heat gun. You can use a sort of DIY style heat gun like the one I've got, which I quite like because it's got 2 settings, hot and stupidly hot. Or you can use like the little craft embossing guns, or I've heard of some people using their hair dryers, though personally I haven't ever tried to use a hairdryer to use Worbla. This is the kind of older stuff, so you need to have quite a high temperature to sort of mould it and shape it and make it malleable. So kind of jury's out on the hairdryer technique. I'm going to be using this guy to show it to you. Safety warning, Worbla is very warm. You should work in a well ventilated space for any chemicals that are going to come off. Very warm. Cannot say this enough. It's silly hot because you're heating up sort of melted plastic and shaping it. So if you're not careful, you're going to hurt your hands. So if you know that you're particularly heat sensitive, let it cool down a little bit before you start shuggling it about. I have hands which are basically made of asbestos at this point, so it's not too much of an issue, but careful with yourselves, kids. Cover your tables with tin foil, lots and lots of layers, don't ruin the soft furnishings. Okay, so to show you the different methods, I'm going to make 3 different little circles. And I'm going to try not to nudge into the camera too much. And take a tripod stand to the sternum, because that's not good and you should avoid doing that if you at all can. So we have 3 circles of around the same size. Before anyone panics, these aren't actually my fabric scissors, these are my everything else scissors, because I can basically hear someone panicking while they're watching this, going, oh my god, he's cutting stuff out with these fabric scissors, it's okay. It's not going to hurt them. They will be fine. So we're going to cut these guys out. Badly. And then we're going to get the other bit of foam, and I'm going to show you how we would add detailing on to some of the pieces. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use a slightly different technique for each of these circles. And then in the next video, I'm going to show you different ways of preparing them for painting. There is a method to my madness. There we go, they are in no way the same size, but let's pretend. So we'll cut out a little triangle. I'm really regretting picking up a bit of black foam for this. Cut out a little triangle and a little square guy. Because we've already got circles and we're pretending that we've got a bit of variety. Little triangle dude. He can go on that one. So we have the triangle one. We have the square one. And we're going to have this wee guy who is just on his own. So we have a circle, a triangle. We have a circle with a square. And this is just going to be a... I know it's not really a circle, but we're going to pretend. Okay, so now that we have our shapes popped to one side, nice and safe, I'm going to show you how to size stuff for having a bit of Worbla. So you take your bit of Worbla, you pop your shape on, and what you want to do is draw around it. Now you're wanting to leave, depending on the thickness of your foam, because this is quite a small item and the foam is quite thin, we're not going to leave too much of a gap, but I'm going to leave about a finger's width. Okay? And we're going to go around this guy about a finger's width of Worbla. See? And on this little circle, we're going to do the sandwiching method. And this is the one that you will see cosplayers like Kamui Cosplay using, where they basically take a bit of Worbla, a bit of foam, and another bit of Worbla, the same size. And in case you haven't worked out from the sandwiching method name, they sandwich it in between. Rightio guys, so we've now got all the Worbla we need cut out for our circles. And I've also cut out the Worbla that we need for our little square and our little triangle. Now, as you can see, looking at the square, I've also made little slits at the corners, and this makes it so much easier when you're, after you've hit the Worbla and you're folding it back into place, to not get like a funny sort of ridge underneath. So usually what I'll do is I will sort of guesstimate how much I need to cut in. I make a little slit just there. There we go. And now we have a little bit going in at each corner. And each corner on the triangle. So next bit is the fun bit with this guy. Having moved the extra little bits and pieces out the way, we're going to start with the sandwich method. So on Worbla you have one kind of silky side, is the only way I can kind of describe it. So you've got one really smooth side, and you've got one where if you look at it there's a sort of texture to it, versus, if that makes any sense, it's smoother on one side and bumpier on the other. On the new black Worbla, apparently because the grain is finer, you don't have the kind of scratchiness, so you just need to go with the slightly shinier side. And basically that's the stickier bit, so you want to heat up that side for attaching bits on. If you have two sort of functions on your heat gun, you want to choose the slightly cooler one, just so that you don't burn your hands. So excusing the noise that we're just about to have, because he's a noisy beast, let's give this a go. Now you're wanting to keep the heat gun a little bit away, and I like to go in circles to get an even coverage of heat. And now you can see what was once a really rough circle is now quite easy to move around and mould. So I'm going to heat this up a little bit more, then I'm going to start heating up this chap. I'm going to show you the sandwich mould. Sandwich mould, sandwich technique. Can't talk, never mind. There we go. Now again, if you've got delicate hands and you're not good with heat, leave it a little bit to cool. My hands don't feel pain anymore. So, sandwich, Worbla, foam, Worbla. And what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to press and squeeze. And what I like to do is kind of use the bit of my nail to kind of get the nice tight edge in around your Worbla. Here we go, you seen how you're getting a nice tight edge there? If you do have really delicate hands and you can't even kind of stand this amount of heat, which I would say is no sort of worse than kind of holding a hot cup of tea or coffee, then you can use like little wooden sort of tools for like modelling clay and stuff. But I find they're just more fiddly than needs be, so I just use this. Okay, so as you can see, you've got it on one side, you've got it on the other, and while it's still quite easy to move around, you're going to want to take your scissors and trim off all this extra stuff, and you want to keep it in quite close. Now remember, always keep your spare bits. Pop that to one side. Now you have a bit of foam sandwiched in Worbla, but you can also see, if my camera will focus, that you have a little bit of a rough edge there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back round with the heat gun, heat that back up, and we're going to smooth it out and round with our thumb just to get rid of that little crease and join. So you've seen the sandwich method. Now this is the method that I personally use. And I like to think of it as the toasted cheese method, or like grilled cheese if you don't know what toasted cheese is. And basically it's when you use just one bit, so you're topping, or like you're topping if you're kind of thinking of it that way, you've only got one bit of Worbla, and you're going to cut it a little bit thicker this time, and we'll show you what you do. So you warm it up, just like you did with the last one. Nice little circles. Careful not to do it for too long, you don't want to burn it. I'll peel that off. Yep. Nice and malleable. Pop it over the top. Make sure you've got it nice and flat. And you just tuck it round and underneath. I like to do this because, quite frankly, I can't afford the amount of Worbla it would take to do a full sandwich the entire way round every time. Sorry I keep moving this out of focus, I'm not used to working with a camera in front of me. But yeah, I'm just pulling it round, I'm kind of almost folding it in on itself to kind of lock it. See? All the way around. There we go, and you've got, from the front, the bit of the costume you're going to see, it looks pretty much the same as the bit that you've got sandwiched. So when you have your sort of your armour things, the main bit that's going to see the wear and tear is going to be covered, but the bit that's maybe going to be in against you, it's just got the foam. But you can cover that with, like, I don't know, sort of hot glue and or contact glue and kind of sticking a bit of felt or something. Just kind of kneading it up if you really want to, if you're not wanting to kind of rub against you, but I've never had that problem. Righty-ho. So we're just going to repeat that off camera with the third circle, and then we're going to do these wee guys. So we now have two of these and our sandwiched one, and we're going to cover the triangle and the square. So basically it's going to be the same technique for both. Again, you're going to do the shiny side, not the scratchy side. We're going to heat it up. We're going to pop this guy in the middle. Now, the great thing about Worbla is you can just pull off the corners when it's still warm and fold it on in. Oh, that bit maybe got a bit too hot and it's now starting to stick to my table covering. Here we go. So as you can see, I used the sort of grilled cheese or toasted cheese method on that one. Not going to cover the full thing because it's going to be backed onto this guy. And to stick it on, I'm going to take some of my scraps. And I'm going to cut off a little bit of scrap. And I'm going to heat it up. Ready to go. I'm going to make it into a kind of a little splodge. I'm going to attach it onto the back here. And we're going to press it onto the middle. And when this dries, basically Worbla constantly wants to be Worbla as one sheet again, as I like to think of it. So when you heat it up and press it together, it reattaches to itself. So you get one piece, so your little triangle detail is now attached onto your big bit. See? Well and truly on there. Again with our square. So we've got a square, a triangle, and now you're thinking, what on earth are we going to do with that sad one? It doesn't really look like much in comparison to its clearly very highly decorated triangle and square brethren. We're going to take this guy, remember, that we cut out at the start, and we're going to show you what you can do with just Worbla on its own. So I'm going to heat this up. Now because this is double thickness Worbla, because it's the bit that we cut off from around both of the sandwich bits, it's going to take a little bit longer to heat up. So I'm going to heat one side and then flip it and heat the other. There we go. And then I'm going to roll it into a sausage. Here we go. A vaguely sausage shape. And now because I've been sort of touching this with my hands and moving it around, it's going to cool down again a little bit, so we're going to have to reheat it again. There we go. Nice and toasty. And I'm going to do a little spiral on this guy because I feel like he needs a little bit of decoration. So we've got a little spiral going on in this one. Rightio, sorry, the thing just decided I didn't want to record anymore. Little spiral. And there we go. So we have a spiral, a square, a triangle, and that's kind of it for this tutorial. I'm going to do another one which will show you how to prep these for painting. So you'll be seeing square, triangle and spiral again. Spiral, squiggle, whatever. These three guys are going to come back and I'll show you 3 different methods for preparing them for painting. And I'm also going to show you what you can do with all your big scraps of Worbla. Sound like fun? Hopefully. If you enjoyed it, drop us a wee like, a wee comment. If there's any questions, we're more than happy to answer. So again, drop it in the little comments box, which will be down at the bottom. And thank you for watching, guys. See you in the next one.